On a dark street near a train station, a typical Japanese salaryman is returning home late from work. Perhaps he's had a drink or two with coworkers before setting out. As he walks, he hears a strange Teke Teke sound behind him. He glances back but sees nothing in the darkness. He walks faster, but the sound is getting louder. He looks again, and it's the last thing he sees. The ghostly half-torso of a mangled woman, her elbows making the Teke Teke sound of the sidewalk, as she uses them to run and naturally fast, a sharp sickle in one bony hand. Another moment, and it's all over. In some versions of this well-known urban legend, she was a schoolgirl. In others, a young office worker. The only thing both versions agree on is the horrible fate she suffered and what happened next. While crossing a train track on a very cold day in northern Japan, a young woman either fell or got stuck just as a speeding train roared past. The entire lower part of her body was smashed to pieces, leaving only her upper body intact. Everyone assumed the woman was deceased since no one could survive such a horrific injury. So rather than summon an ambulance, the medical examiner was called to deal with the body. The official set about gathering up the pieces when he heard a faint cry for help. To his astonishment, the woman was still alive. Apparently the intense cold had frozen her blood at the wound and kept her from bleeding out, and possibly deadening the shock. She was alive, but barely. Now, either medical help was finally called but far too late, or the medical examiner understood that her wounds were not survivable and simply packed her off to the morgue with the rest of her body parts. Either way, she passed with her desperate cries ignored. Infuriated at her treatment, her ghost lingered as the Onryo, a spirit existing for no other reason than pure revenge. I've done a more detailed video on the subject of Onryo, and I'll put a link to it at the end of this one if you're curious. For now, we've got the legend of a specific one, and she's extremely angry, so let's not keep her waiting. Chasing the actual origins of an urban legend is like trying to catch smoke. Did the incident with the train come first, or were the stories of actual documented accidents over the years distilled down into this one story? While it's impossible to know for certain, we can speculate on Teke Teke's evolution, beginning with another urban legend that we know preceded this one, and is based on a very similar incident, that of a legless ghost named Kashima Reiko. As with Teke Teke, Kashima Reiko was a young woman alleged to have passed in a train accident, where her legs were severed rather than completely losing the entire bottom half of her body. Another feature of her legend was that she would appear to anyone who learned of her legend, and she would do so within 1 month, or in some versions, 3 days. The only way to avoid this was to pass knowledge of her legend on to someone else, so I suppose I'm safe. How you handle your part is up to you, but it does tend to explain how some urban legends spread so quickly. Like another well-known legend, Hanako-san, Kashima Reiko's legless spirit is supposed to hang out in toilet stalls. Why? Well, ask yourself. Where's the place you feel vulnerable? It's certainly not the only place, but it definitely makes the list. Regardless, anyone who encounters her there will be asked, "Where are my legs?" If she doesn't like your answer, let's just say it won't end well for you. Being torn in half is one possible outcome. However, the folklore of Kashima Reiko gives a way to escape. You can simply tell her that her legs are on the Mishin Expressway and make yourself scarce while she goes to look. At least that's the story. It's probably equally likely that either the legend of Teke Teke evolved from the legend of Kashima Reiko, or that both are variations of the same primary legend now lost. Urban legends are seldom completely static over time, and there's no reason two offshoots of the same story couldn't exist together, even if one did arise before the other. There are a lot of variations on both of these legends. As for Teke Teke, she can appear as a perfectly normal and very pretty young woman, the easier to draw in her prey. One version of the story says a young schoolboy sees a pretty woman standing behind an obstruction so he can't see her lower half. She smiles at him, he smiles back, and then she drops to the ground and quickly runs after him on her elbows. In many versions of the story, she does carry a kama, a sort of one-handed sickle used to harvest rice. If she catches her victim, she uses it to cut this person in half, just as she was severed by the train. While none of her victims are those who harmed her directly by an action originally, so long as they are, or were, living at the time, her desire for revenge seems to be mollified, at least until the next time, because the grudge she carries extends to anyone living. Unfortunately, such a grudge can never be completely satisfied so long as anyone remains alive to bear the brunt of her anger, so it's likely the legend will remain as long as we do. Teke Teke and its associated legends combine themes of vengeance, societal unease at the unforeseen consequences of technological progress, and the supernatural, which likely gives them their strong place in Japanese folklore. It probably doesn't matter that Teke Teke's origin story cannot be documented and is almost certainly not true. The facts in the case of an urban legend are completely beside the point in the first place. The legend has been made into at least 2 popular movies, which certainly serve to spread the legend far and wide. At its heart, a legend is simply a story, and story has power. The story says that Teke Teke is still out there. Would you bet your life that she isn't?